It began in Liverpool, four lads with a shared dream of music and fame. The Beatles' story is one of humble beginnings, with its roots in the working-class city of Liverpool, England. This was where John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison and Ringo Starr came together, bound by a shared passion for music and an ambition to make it big. Their early days were far from glamorous. Lennon and McCartney first met at a church fete in 1957, where Lennon's band, The Quarrymen, was performing. McCartney, impressed by Lennon's performance, was invited to join the band. Harrison joined soon after, followed by Starr, and thus the iconic Beatles lineup was formed. In the heart of Liverpool, the Cavern Club became their home. This underground venue, with its arching ceilings and damp, musty air, was where the Beatles honed their craft. They played nearly 300 performances at the club, and it was here that their unique sound and infectious energy began to catch the public's eye. Their performances were raw, energetic, and captivating. They gave everything to their music, and it showed. They played a mix of rock and roll and skiffle, a type of music that combined jazz, blues, and American folk. Their original compositions, however, were what set them apart. They had a unique sound, a fresh take on rock and roll that resonated with their audience. The Beatles' music was a reflection of their shared experiences and influences. Their songs were filled with the energy and optimism of youth, the struggles and dreams of working-class life, and the desire for something more. Their music touched people, it spoke to them, and it brought them together. Their talent and charisma caught the attention of Brian Epstein, a local record store owner. He saw potential in the young band and took on the role of manager, guiding them towards fame and fortune. Under Epstein's management, the Beatles' popularity skyrocketed, their music reaching audiences far beyond Liverpool. And so the stage was set for Beatlemania to sweep the globe. Their journey was just beginning, but the world was ready for the Beatles. They were destined to become more than just a band. They were about to become a cultural phenomenon. Their music took the world by storm, but the Beatles were destined for more than just radio waves. As the band's fame skyrocketed, the idea of capturing their unique brand of charisma and cheeky charm on film began to take shape. The Beatles, once four lads from Liverpool, were about to step into the world of cinema. The decision to make a feature film wasn't taken lightly. The Beatles had already conquered the music charts and the hearts of millions. They were a phenomenon, a force of nature that was changing the cultural landscape. But could they translate their success to the silver screen? Could they bring the same energy, the same magic, to a different medium? The concept behind A Hard Day's Night was ambitious, yet simple. The film would be a snapshot of a day in the life of the Beatles, a chance for fans to see what it was like to be John, Paul, George, and Ringo. It would capture the frenzy of Beatlemania, the chaos, the fun, and the sheer madness of being the most famous band in the world. The Beatles' initial reactions to the idea were mixed. They were musicians, not actors. They were stepping out of their comfort zone into uncharted territory. But they were also intrigued. They saw the potential to do something new, something different. They were always pushing boundaries, always looking for ways to innovate. And so, they agreed to make the film. They couldn't have known then just how significant A Hard Day's Night would become. They couldn't have foreseen the impact it would have, not just on their careers, but on the world of cinema. They were about to embark on a journey that would take them from Liverpool to the silver screen, from pop stars to film stars. Little did they know, A Hard Day's Night would forever change their lives and the world of cinema. They were on the brink of creating a masterpiece, a film that would capture the essence of the Beatles and become a defining moment in their incredible story. When four musicians meet a visionary director, magic happens. In the case of the Beatles and Richard Lester, the result was nothing short of a masterpiece. A Hard Day's Night was not just a movie, it was a cultural phenomenon that forever changed the landscape of music and film. The collaboration between the Beatles and Richard Lester was a unique blend of creativity and innovation. Lester, known for his quick-cut editing style and knack for comedy, was a perfect match for the Beatles' unique brand of humor and their knack for breaking boundaries. He was not just a director, but a catalyst, coaxing out their innate talent and translating it onto the big screen. The Beatles, for their part, brought to the table not just their music, but their charisma and their ability to captivate an audience. They were natural performers, and Lester knew just how to harness their energy and channel it into the film. Each member of the band brought something unique to the table, and Lester was able to blend these elements into a cohesive and compelling narrative. Creating A Hard Day's Night was not without its challenges. There were the logistical hurdles of shooting a film while in the throes of Beatlemania. Fans would often swarm the sets, making it difficult to shoot some scenes. There were also creative challenges. The Beatles were musicians, not trained actors, and there were moments of uncertainty. But Lester's faith in their ability to pull it off never wavered. Screenwriter Alan Owen was a critical part of the creative process as well. He spent time with the band, getting to know them, their mannerisms, their humor. His script was a reflection of the Beatles as they were, not as the world wanted them to be. It was this authenticity that resonated with audiences and made the film such a success. Despite the hurdles, A Hard Day's Night was shaping up to be a cinematic sensation. It was a labor of love, a product of hard work, creativity, and collaboration. And it was a testament to the power of 4 musicians from Liverpool and a visionary director who dared to make a film like no other. In the midst of a cultural revolution, the Beatles were not just observers, but active participants. The 1960s was a decade of great transformation. The world was witnessing social, political, and cultural upheavals, and at the center of it all, amplifying the rhythm of change, were the Beatles. Born in the gritty post-war streets of Liverpool, the Beatles were more than just a rock and roll band. They became the voice of a generation eager for change, and their music became the soundtrack of the 60s. From the moment they stepped onto the scene, their influence was immediate and profound. Their sound was innovative, their lyrics were insightful, and their style was revolutionary. The Beatles didn't just make music, they created an entirely new way of expressing oneself through art. They were pioneers, experimenting with different genres and techniques, constantly pushing the boundaries of what music could be. But their influence extended beyond the realm of music. They shaped fashion trends, from their iconic mop-top haircuts to their sharp suits, and later, their psychedelic-inspired outfits. They embodied the spirit of the 60s, challenging conventions and embracing individualism. The Beatles also played a significant role in shaping youth culture. They represented a new kind of freedom, a freedom to express oneself, to challenge the status quo, and to dream of a better world. And it was this spirit that resonated with millions of young people around the globe. Their impact was felt not just in their home country of England, but across the Atlantic in America as well, sparking the British invasion and forever changing the landscape of American music. Their influence was so profound that they even caught the attention of the Queen, who awarded them the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire in 1965. Indeed, the 60s was a time of great change, and at the heart of it all were 4 lads from Liverpool. The Beatles were not just a band, they were a cultural phenomenon. Their music, their style, and their message continue to resonate, making them one of the most influential bands in history. Behind the scenes, a bond stronger than music was forming. This bond was the unseen force that held the Beatles together, creating a synergy that was perceptible even in the silence between their notes. As they embarked on the journey of making A Hard Day's Night, they were not just 4 musicians from Liverpool, they were brothers, bound by a shared dream and a love for music. The Beatles' relationship was far from one-dimensional. Their camaraderie was palpable, but so were the creative tensions that pushed them to new heights. It was a delicate dance, a balance of personalities and talents that resulted in a musical harmony unlike any other. John Lennon, with his sharp wit and raw emotion, often took the lead. Paul McCartney, with his melodic genius and knack for storytelling, complemented John's strengths. George Harrison, the quiet Beatle, brought a spiritual depth and a unique guitar style that added another layer to their sound. And Ringo Starr, with his steady rhythm and amiable nature, was the glue that held them together. During the making of A Hard Day's Night, their bond was tested and strengthened. They navigated the pressures of fame, the demands of a grueling schedule, and the challenges of translating their music to the screen. And through it all, they leaned on each other, their shared laughter and mutual respect serving as a refuge from the whirlwind around them. This camaraderie was not just confined to the recording studio or the film set. It extended to their shared experiences off stage. From the early days in Hamburg to the madness of Beatlemania, their journey was a shared one. They celebrated their triumphs together, weathered their storms together, and in the process became more than just bandmates. They became a family. Their shared experiences and friendship would shape the Beatles both on stage and off. It was this bond, this unseen force, that would propel them to unprecedented heights and leave an indelible mark on the world of music and beyond. When A Hard Day's Night hit the screens, the world was watching. It was the summer of 1964, and the anticipation was palpable. The Beatles, already a global sensation, were venturing into new territory, cinema. And what a venture it was! The film was a box office hit, pulling in over £1.5 million in its first week in Britain alone. It was as if Beatlemania had spilled over from the concert halls and into the multiplexes. But it wasn't just the fans who were captivated. Critics too were charmed by the Beatles' on-screen antics, their cheeky humour, and the film's innovative style. The New Yorker lauded it as the Citizen Kane of jukebox musicals, while Time magazine declared it one of the smoothest, freshest, funniest films ever made for purposes of exploitation. Yet the success of A Hard Day's Night extended beyond its box office earnings and rave reviews. The film's enduring popularity is testament to its timeless appeal. More than half a century later, it continues to captivate audiences, its magic undiminished. It is regarded as a classic, a seminal piece of pop culture that captures the essence of a moment in time. The Beatles, with their wit and irreverence, their groundbreaking music, and their undeniable charisma, had created a film that was more than just a vehicle for their songs. They had created a snapshot of the era, a window into the cultural zeitgeist of the 60s, and in doing so, they had touched a chord that resonated with millions around the world. Today, A Hard Day's Night stands as a testament to the Beatles' enduring impact. It is a piece of history, a cultural artifact that continues to intrigue and inspire. It has been studied by scholars, celebrated by fans, and revered by filmmakers. It stands as a monument to a time when four lads from Liverpool ruled the world. A Hard Day's Night was not just a film, it was a cultural touchstone. And as we delve deeper into the Beatles' legacy, we realize just how profound that touchstone is. Music was the heart of A Hard Day's Night. The Beatles, already renowned for their musical prowess, were not content to simply provide a soundtrack. They integrated music into the very fabric of the film, creating a seamless blend of narrative and rhythm, of story and song. The Beatles were at an interesting point in their musical journey during the making of A Hard Day's Night. They were transitioning from their early rock and roll roots towards a more sophisticated sound, one that was beginning to incorporate elements of folk, classical, and psychedelic music. This evolution is evident in the songs they contributed to the film. From the title track's jangling guitars and catchy chorus to the melancholic beauty of If I Fell, each song not only enhanced the scene it was featured in, but also reflected the band's growing musical maturity. One of the standout moments of the film is the performance of Can't Buy Me Love. It's a scene that perfectly encapsulates the energy and charisma of the Beatles, the song's upbeat tempo and catchy melody driving the action on screen. The Beatles' willingness to experiment with their sound also had a profound impact on the film's narrative. Their songs weren't just background music. They were integral to the story, helping to drive the plot forward, reveal character traits, and set the mood for various scenes. The music of A Hard Day's Night was as much a character in the film as John, Paul, George, and Ringo themselves. And let's not forget the innovation that the Beatles brought to the film's soundtrack. From the use of natural ambient sounds to the pioneering of new recording techniques, they were pushing the boundaries of what was possible in film music. They were not just musicians, but sonic explorers, constantly seeking out new sounds and new ways of expressing their musical ideas. The Beatles were redefining the sound of cinema one song at a time. A Hard Day's Night was a game changer for music in cinema. This statement rings true even today, decades after the iconic film's release. It was a film that, in its essence, was a visual album, a concept that was ahead of its time. The Beatles' lively performances, coupled with the film's innovative storytelling, created an experience that resonated with audiences worldwide. The film's impact can be seen in the wave of musicals and rock documentaries that followed. It pioneered a genre, blending music with narrative in a way that hadn't been done before. The Beatles weren't just playing themselves, they were characters, adding depth to their public personas through the film's storyline. The Beatles' natural charisma and musical talent were amplified by the film's unique approach to storytelling. The energy of their live performances was captured on screen, creating a concert-like experience for the viewers. This was a significant shift from traditional musicals, where songs were woven into a narrative structure. It wasn't just the way music was used in the film that set it apart, but also how it was filmed. Director Richard Lester's innovative techniques, such as the use of handheld cameras and quick cuts, added a sense of immediacy and authenticity to the film. This style would later influence music video production, contributing to the visual language of pop culture. Moreover, A Hard Day's Night played a pivotal role in shaping the image of rock and roll in cinema. It helped to dispel the notion that rock and roll was just a passing fad, establishing it as a legitimate and influential art form. The film's success proved that music could be a driving force in cinema, paving the way for future films centered around music. The influence of A Hard Day's Night can be seen in countless films that followed, from Tommy to This Is Spinal Tap, and even modern music documentaries. It was a film that broke boundaries and set new standards, proving that the power of music could be harnessed to tell compelling stories on screen. In conclusion, A Hard Day's Night had set a new standard for music in film. Its innovative use of music and narrative, coupled with the Beatles' undeniable charm, created a cinematic experience that continues to resonate with audiences and inspire filmmakers to this day. Every masterpiece has its untold stories. And such is the case with A Hard Day's Night. As we dive into the behind-the-scenes world of this iconic film, we uncover a treasure trove of anecdotes, rare footage, and candid moments that made the making of this movie as extraordinary as the film itself. Imagine the Beatles, fresh off the stage, still buzzing with adrenaline, stepping into the world of cinema. The transition wasn't without its quirks. John, Paul, George, and Ringo were musicians first, not actors. Their natural camaraderie and humor, however, bled into their performances, resulting in a film that was as much a documentary of their real-life dynamics as it was a work of fiction. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though. The schedule was grueling, with the band often filming during the day and performing concerts at night. The boys' exhaustion is famously captured in the film's title, A Hard Day's Night, which was a Ringoism, a comical phrase he'd blurted out after one such demanding day. And then there were the fans, whose unrelenting enthusiasm often threatened to disrupt filming. One story goes that during the filming of the iconic field running scene, the crew had to halt production because fans had spotted the band and were closing in. The Beatles had to be whisked away in a van, a scene that was later incorporated into the movie. Behind the scenes, director Richard Lester and screenwriter Alun Owen worked tirelessly, their vision shaping the film's unique blend of music, humor, and realism. Their collaboration with the Beatles was a meeting of creative minds that marked a turning point in music and cinema. Off-camera, the boys were just that, boys. There was a lot of laughter, a lot of music, and an undeniable bond that was the heart and soul of the film. These candid moments, captured in rare footage and photographs, offer a glimpse into the world of the Beatles during a transformative time in their career. The making of A Hard Day's Night was as extraordinary as the film itself. It was a whirlwind of music, friendship, and innovation, and it is these behind-the-scenes stories that truly bring the magic of this masterpiece to life. A Hard Day's Night was more than a film, it was a mirror to the 60s. This masterpiece was a reflection of the times, capturing the spirit of an era marked by monumental societal and cultural changes. The film, just like the Beatles themselves, was a phenomenon that not only depicted these changes, but also actively participated in shaping them. The 60s was a decade of rebellion, of challenging the status quo, and A Hard Day's Night encapsulated this essence brilliantly. The Beatles, with their signature mop-top haircuts and distinct style, were seen as the embodiment of youth rebellion. Their music, their image, and their attitude resonated with the young generation who were seeking to assert their own identity, to make their voices heard. A Hard Day's Night gave the world an insider's view of Beatlemania, but it also showcased the broader cultural shifts of the time. The film's narrative, the interactions between characters, the very essence of the storyline, all mirrored the changing societal dynamics. One of the prevalent themes that resonates with the era is the clash of generations. The Beatles, representing the young and vibrant youth, often found themselves at odds with the older, more traditional characters in the film. This intergenerational conflict was a reflection of the wider societal context of the 60s, where the younger generation was beginning to question and challenge the established norms. The film also depicted the increasing influence of mass media and the growing power of popular culture. The Beatles were at the center of this media frenzy, and A Hard Day's Night captured this phenomenon, offering a satirical commentary on the commercialization of the music industry and the commodification of the band. The 60s was indeed a time of great transformation, and A Hard Day's Night served as a snapshot of this revolutionary era. It was a film that not only entertained but also enlightened, offering a glimpse into the societal and cultural shifts that were taking place. A Hard Day's Night was not just a film, but a time capsule of a revolutionary era. More than half a century later, the Beatles' influence remains unparalleled. The four lads from Liverpool, with their unique sound and timeless melodies, changed the face of music forever, leaving a legacy that continues to resonate today. Their influence wasn't just confined to music, they shaped culture, fashion, and even societal norms. Their long hair and innovative style became a symbol of the rebellious spirit of the 60s. Their experimental approach to music broke down barriers, encouraging others to step outside their comfort zone and explore new creative territories. The Beatles' music has an enduring appeal that transcends generations. Their songs, filled with universal themes of love, peace, and understanding, continue to inspire and connect with people around the world. From Hey Jude to Let It Be, their timeless tracks are still played and appreciated by both the young and the old. The band's legacy also thrives in the artists they influenced. From the Rolling Stones to the Arctic Monkeys, countless musicians have been inspired by the Beatles' groundbreaking work. They set the benchmark for what a rock band could be, and their influence can be heard in the music of countless bands that followed. The Beatles also forever changed the way music is used in cinema. Their innovative use of music in A Hard Day's Night set the stage for the modern music video and revolutionized the way in which musicians interact with film. They proved that music could be more than just a soundtrack, it could be a powerful storytelling tool. In the end, it's not just their music that makes the Beatles timeless, but the values they stood for. Their messages of peace, love, and unity continue to resonate in a world that often seems divided. They were more than just a band, they were a cultural phenomenon that captured the spirit of a generation and the heart of the world. The Beatles' legacy lives on, their music timeless, their influence boundless. As the final note fades, the impact of the Beatles and A Hard Day's Night remains. This journey has unveiled their camaraderie, the groundbreaking film's creation, and its lasting effects on music and culture. And so, we invite you to revisit the magic of A Hard Day's Night and continue exploring the enduring legacy of the Beatles.